I'm not trying to pick on Redfin. I used to use them as a great, trusted resource to share with my customers and prospects of good real estate information. But over time, they just have lost their way and have become just a propaganda mill. And I find it frustrating. In fact, I'm preparing a longer form video called Why I Hate Redfin to go into the detail and why you should as well. But before going to that, let's talk about the real estate market and get clear. And then I'll show you where I think Redfin is trying to, along with other real estate companies in the news industry, get you off track. I'm Bill Gross, and this is my real estate market update. I'm on social media at Bill Gross Probate. I maintain the key to success and understanding the market is to know always where you are with real statistics and real data. In an economy, you have a trade-off between buyers and sellers, demand and supply. On the buyer side, the key factor to look at is always in real estate interest rates. And today, we see interest rates have closed for the week and ended at 7.37%, down a little over an eighth percent. And you can see we're now back into the below 7.5s. We were over 8 and flirting with going up higher, and that has, at least for now, stopped and rescinded. And we seem to be in a market now where sevens are more likely to stay. Doesn't mean that's where it's heading in the future, but at least we're not in a trend forcing towards 8%. Now that's on the buyer side or the demand. How about on the supply side, which is normally looked by the number of homes for sale or inventory? And there again, we continue in an era of record lows. The only year lower in history is the pandemic year, the peak pandemic year of 2 years ago. The current market is below the last other two pandemic years, and about half the rate of any non-pandemic year. So again, by any standard, we have historic low inventory, though it is inching up slightly closer towards historic norms. We're not there yet, but we're inching towards that direction overall. Okay, so that is where the inventory is. How about the local market? I'm in Los Angeles, and real estate is a very hyper-local market. In Los Angeles, we're using the outsourced research formula. We're at a 40, which is slightly a seller's market. Now, we've been most of the year in a stronger seller's market, and today we're in a slight seller's market for the third week in a row, hanging at 40. One of the key stats I look at is price per square foot. What's it cost to get the average square foot of housing in the market? And that's currently at $812. It was recently $830 just about a month ago. And a few months ago, it had been even higher than that at $847. So the costs are going down, which means there's more lower price home selling, less higher price home selling. And overall, the market still is healthy and a slight seller's market. Okay, so every week I go through the news and try to find things that I find interesting to share with you. One of the things I found interesting this week was kind of a realtor on realtor battle. And this article is from the National Association of Realtor Convention. And there's a flyer put out by a real estate agent who was upset, saying that Realtor.com, which is a sister company of the Wall Street Journal, is really at war with real estate agents. And if you read it, they have joined in with the We Hate Realtor crowd, which is really crazy. For example, they use the word cartel. Now, I had another video on why the lawsuit is so ridiculous, because realtors, there's no way we got together to conspire to raise rates. That's just not possible for us to talk about commission rates with each other. It's illegal, and nobody does it. The companies don't even talk to each other. But that's the word the Wall Street Journal uses, that we are a cartel. And then the Wall Street Journal says that the models inflated housing prices and suppressed competition. Now, this is from a major news source that's been complicit in American government my entire lifetime. And they're saying that somehow the real estate model, which is pure competition, is somehow causing higher housing prices, which is just it defies any data. And when you read the article, you see it's not there. But this is really a war. Realtor.com used to be owned by realtors, and the realtors sold it to News Corp, raised a lot of cash, and did that. And News.com was going to create, News Corp was going to create a competitor to Zillow, because realtors thought that Zillow was too powerful, a monopoly, which it was. And so you have Realtor.com to compete with Zillow in the market of working with buyers and generating buyer leads. And so here's a case where the payback is that Realtor.com has really just declared war on real estate agents. Now we're entering the end of the year when there's a lot of good information kind of going back to give you perspective on the real estate market. So there's a couple of interesting points that I noticed in a few reports. One of them is from the Pew Research. They show how there are states that have lost population and those that have gained population. I know that California had lost population, but you'll notice there's certain similarities between California, Oregon, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan. All these are states that have a certain type of style of government, seem to have certain similarities in the economy. And overall, the United States population is growing. And you have to ask yourself, how bad does a state have to be for when the population is growing overall, their state to decline? You have the natural case of healthy life with more children, and you have immigration from other states, but you also have immigration from other countries. We have 3 million illegal immigrants have come to America, presumably in various states across the country, including California. How bad does California have to be with our great weather and all the illegal immigration we have coming in that we still have a population going down? It's just striking the differences between states that are adding population and those that are losing it. I just find that those numbers stunning. Additionally, you'll find that by county and and certain counties are clustered by region. Here is the same data put together by the U.S. Census Bureau. You'll notice California has so many metro areas losing population, as does the Eastern Seaboard, New York, and the kind of major metropolitan areas around New York have been losing so much population. And you see otherwise through the Southwest and the Southeast, how those populations are growing. And they're clustered by region. So there's certain similarities in those areas that are causing those states to have people vote with their feet and move. And I'm going to show you how dramatic that is. Even within this, even within those data, you'll see that that the cities overall are losing population, and the suburbs have been gaining population consistently. So this goes back to 2010. You'll see that the rates were more similar, and around 2016 that broke, and the suburbs have continued to add population while the cities have continued to reduce in comparison and actually lose population the last couple of years. So these are striking changes in the marketplace in our country. Another striking change is the share of buyers and sellers by age group. And notice how over 50% are going to be 50 years or older of buyers and sellers. We often think of the seller side that these people are selling their homes, maybe because they passed, maybe because they're moving into adult, but they're also buyers because many people are selling homes that they maybe raise a family in and moving to retirement type communities. So you'll see how the aging of the real estate market has changed so dramatically, and then so much more of it is older. Now go back for a second to the migration patterns. We had migration from certain states, certain counties, and generally from cities to suburbs. But what's striking about those changes is that Americans are moving less and less and less over time. Now that trend did slightly turn back last year, but overall, it is striking that it used to be moving in America, about 20% of the people moved every year or one every 5 years. And that number now is down below 10% or one every 10 years. And so the average American is staying in their same home much longer, which makes the movements from certain states and certain counties and cities even more dramatic, because those increases in changes happened when Americans were less likely to be moving overall. So very dramatic changes going on in our economy overall. Now, one of my favorite topics, I guess, has become one of them, has been Redfin. And why is that? Well, again, I guess I just feel betrayed because I used to use them as a resource and as a trusted resource and shared it. And they've really just turned around. Now I'm going to do a longer piece on why I hate Redfin fundamentally. But this week's award for the worst article goes to Redfin. Let's take a look at the article they put out this week, which is titled The Housing Market Update, their weekly article. Mortgage applications tick up as rates drop from peak. Tick up. Now, normally tick means small, right? It slightly went up. So by definition, it's hard to draw a conclusion when data ticks. You would draw a conclusion when data jumps, when it's significant. But to start making conclusions when it ticks. But that doesn't stop Redfin, because all their data has to have important conclusions for them to put out in social media. So you read the subheadline, it's a chicken or egg situation for home buyers and sellers. I don't know what that means. Demand is rising due to an uptick in new listings. So what they're saying is that home buyers are seeing new listings, and that's causing them to become home buyers, meaning they're not home buyers, they're sitting at home, and all of a sudden they see new listings, go, hey, honey, let's sign up for Zillow and Redfin and we'll talk to our local realtor and start tracking the market. We weren't going to buy, but now there's more listings. Those people are going to buy. I don't know about that one. And here's another one. Listings are increasing partly, there's no data in this at all, because sellers are noticing more buyers enter the market. So how does that work? Are sellers like on their front lawn with telescopes or binoculars counting buyers driving by property and looking at signs? Are they counting open houses? Do sellers have like a seller network or text group where they count how many buyers open houses and share it overall? What's fascinating is, according to Redfin's data, the actual numbers, the mortgage applications only went up 3%. So they want you to believe that sellers notice a 3% increase in buyers and go, there's more buyers, let's put a house in the market. And then buyers notice that and go, there's more house in the market, let's become a buyer. But they already were buyers. So it's not chicken or egg theory. One has nothing to do with the other. The whole thing is nonsense. Now you might say, oh, come on, Bill. You're giving Redfin a hard time. I mean, it's not like they're promoting this as nonsense. They're just putting out the report and that's the title. No, they promote it. Here they are on Twitter. This is what news organizations do. It's a chicken or egg situation for home buyers and sellers. Demand is rising, probably due an uptick in new listings. And listings are increasing partly because sellers are noticing more buyers. So this is the summary of the nonsense. They put that as the tweet and then link back to their article. And I'm sure if you took them to task for the article, they'd say, oh, that's just a subheader. We didn't really promote that nonsense in the tweet to fool people to read it. No, that's exactly what they did. And what happens is other news organizations see this and copy and I've shown you this, what I call the echo chamber, where other news organizations copy Redfin's tweet and put that in their article and use that as a title. They don't use the news actual article information and title. They see the tweet because that's a little more dramatic, captures their eye, fancy graphic, and that's what gets tweeted out as future, I think, misinformation. And that's how the system works. I'll give you another example from Redfin. Here's a graph, very impressive. Most people don't read the graph and look at the data. Sellers get concessions in 35% of home sales. Okay, that's a fact. Some are giving concessions and cutting prices to buyers who become increasingly likely to back out deals as mortgage rates have climbed. So some are giving concessions and cutting prices. Well, yeah, in fact, here's the graph. 35% is a little bit more than the last few months, a little less than the prior months, less than the peak earlier this year, more than the peak, more than the normal numbers over time, less than maybe in 2020. I don't know. To me, this is like right in the middle of the whole graph. There's like nothing to report here. And then here's concessions, same thing. Wait, nothing to report. They're kind of in the middle of the lifetime of the graph. So what I see happening consistently is Redfin takes what I think would otherwise be insignificant data and make a whole story out of it. And that gets promoted to either cause buyers to be scared or take action or something. I don't really know what the game plan is. I just don't like it. How do you feel about it? Am I being too hard to Redfin? Or do you see the same thing, the same pattern I do? Or is there another news source that you think is worse? Put down comments below. I'd love to get your opinion on this. So what should you do? Well, if it's a good time for you to buy, don't worry about how many buyers are going to open houses in your neighborhood. Let's talk. Let's put together a plan together and see if it's a good time for you to buy, if you can qualify and get you the best deal possible. And if you're thinking of selling, don't count the home buyers going to open houses. Call me. I have the data. I'll let you know what the market's like in your area. But more importantly, what are your options? What are your goals? And let's get a plan together to make that happen. So if I can help in any way, reach out to me at Bill Gross Probate on social media. If you like this, please like it. Subscribe if you like subscribing to it. Put a comment in the comment section. Let's talk. How can I help you? And most of all, make today and make this week of Thanksgiving your best day and your best week ever. Thanks so much.